Peace and happy Monday. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? I feel like let me put some meditation music on in the background because I feel like normally I start with something happening in the background. So let me pull up something that can kind of set a tone for us and get the spiritual juices, so to speak, flowing. Let me try 528 hertz. I usually toggle back and forth between 963 hertz and 693 hertz. Those are my two favorite, but 528 is a good one too. So let me turn something on just so we can have some conscientious music in the background to help us to guide the energy. And happy Monday to you guys. Okay, that's a good one. Happy Monday to you guys. I hope that you are doing well. And let me bring up my chat room. All right, let's see. Shirley is in the building. Tiara is in the building. Aretha. Yamina. Assalamu alaikum, Queen. How you doing? I'm glad to see you with us. We have a lot of people are watching these classes archived, you guys. We have, I think we're up to 290 now, 290 people that are signed up with us. So I think we average between 60 and 70 people that watch us live. And I'm so grateful to all of you guys. There's a different type of energy when you interact live, whether you're interacting in the chat room or whether it's the live Q&A where I get to address you guys directly. So I'm very appreciative for your time and your attention when we are live. And then also for those of you guys that are watching us via the archives, I got a lot of emails this weekend from people who aren't necessarily tuning in live, but that are watching and, you know, kind of giving me their feedback after they watch the videos. I got like 6 or 7 different emails about the forgiveness and the unfinished business portions of the workbook, and people having aha moments, which makes me feel really good because you know, that's what the whole process of the workbook is about. And just so you guys know, you know, I created all of the Q&As and, you know, the different exercises and whatnot. This stuff comes from life experience, from experience with working with clients, from, you know, being a student of human behavior and the culture. And then probably, I would say 60 to 70% from my own personal life experience with family members, things that I've been through, you know, and just being a student of life. So everything in it is true to life. So the fact that it is impacting you, making you think, pushing yourself beyond your normal comfort zone really, really, really means a lot to me. And I do read all of your emails. I don't always get a chance to respond, but I do read them, and I'm grateful for your feedback. And I'm thankful to you guys that are really taking this process seriously. Asia, Peace Queen, Lovejoy, how you doing, sis? Good to see you with us. JB, I sent you an email about an hour ago, maybe, in response to your email. So I extended the time frame on those links, so you should be able to get that. If you want to do it now, you can. If you want to do it when we get off the live, it'll be good. So you can go ahead and get your books. Janine, I sent you an email as well in response to your inquiry. So I set that up for you so you can go ahead and take care of that whenever you get a chance. Mashonda, what's good, sis? How you doing? How you feeling? And let me see. Macon, you sent me an email too. Oh yeah, you just sent me an email. I don't think there was anything for me to respond to, but peace and love to you as well. What's good, family? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? How was your weekend? And I have a poll. I'm going to ask you guys how many of you guys are actually caught up on your worksheets. But I just want to know how you guys this weekend was. You know, I think time is kind of blurring, you know, especially for those of us who are self-employed, who work from home, or who actually aren't working right now. I'm going to do a poll because I'm curious to know how many of you guys are actually working right now, how many of you guys are at home. I know we have some people that are in the healthcare industry and that are also in essential industries that are still working. So those are usually the people who are watching the broadcast. And I see questions are starting to come in. Remember, you guys have the option to put your Q&A directly in the question section, and that works best for me, so I don't have to try to go through all of the chats. So if there was anything that stood out for you in the worksheets that we've done so far, go ahead and drop a question in the chat room, in the Q&A section, and I'll try to get to everybody's questions. Florence said, I've been listening to Tibetan singing bowls. That's one of my favorites. With the healing frequencies, I would love to know which playlist you are listening to. I can hook you up with that. Asia said, I fasted all weekend and I'm almost caught up. All right, cool. I'm going to do a 3-day fast this coming weekend to start the month off. And this is something that I used to do it like clockwork. Every month I would do a 3-day fast, and I kind of fell off from it. So it's my goal right now to get back to doing my 3-day fast. Last meal being Thursday evening, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no food until Sunday evening when I break fast. So I'm very proud of you, and I support you and encourage you in your fasting process, because that is one surefire way for a spiritual download and for mental and spiritual and emotional clarity. So much love and respect to you, and keep up the good work. I am definitely a faster. If I'm nothing else, when I have issues or problems, I fast. Like, that literally is a way for me to say, okay, wait a minute. I can't think my way through this. I can't work my way through this. Or even not even thinking about it from that perspective, just understanding, okay, something's going on in my life right now. There's stuck energy. I need clarity. So I automatically revert back to fasting. And I definitely, I definitely have gained a lot of introspection, and I feel like it brings me closer to the Creator. I got an email from someone, Macon, it might have been you, about the meditation. I didn't do the meditation yesterday. I recognized yesterday was really the only day that I didn't work. On Saturday, I did a kind of like a group meeting, group coaching session with my private group, Alchemy Cypher, and just talk with them. And then I had some work to catch up on as far as my newsletter, doing some editing for some yoga videos. So yesterday was really the only day that I didn't work, and I realized that I was kind of tired. Like, I was really tired. I slept late, and then I took a nap. Like, I slept a big portion of the day. So, energetically, when I'm bouncing myself off of, other people and what's happening in the world right now, just as a mother and just as a person in general, I exude a lot of energy. So yesterday, I just took the day off. But I am going to resume the meditation, the group meditation, this coming Sunday, and you guys will get access to that, as well as, I'm going to make it public. I think, and I had already kind of known that pretty much this situation is going to last us throughout the month of April, and God willing, May, I'm thinking probably mid-May is when we may resume some sort of normalcy. So I'm mentally preparing myself for a 4 to 6 week continuation of where we are right now, which is okay for me. And I'm even thinking about maybe extending these classes, maybe evolving them and doing something a little bit different, maybe doing them every other day, or, I'm meditating on that right now, and I'll keep you guys posted. But I do feel a sense of, responsibility, and not a heavy, burdensome responsibility, but a responsibility that comes from love and gratitude for the awareness that I have right now to help us to be in the right spirit and in the right state of mind, so that we can navigate ourselves through this situation. So we're definitely going to be on for the rest of this week up until Friday, and I'll let you guys know beyond that what we're going to do. I have several yoga videos that I've done that I'm in the editing process. They're for my private Alchemy Cipher group. I may upload one on my YouTube channel. I have a couple of other meditations too. I'm just kind of working through some stuff to see how I can best be of service to help everybody kind of not just survive what's happening, but like to come out on the other end of this in a thriving state of consciousness, and to let this situation work for the best of us. So we're going to do an hour today, only because I have to be conscientious. Like 40 pages in a workbook, to me, and even to probably some of you guys, it's not exactly 40, it's probably more like 35 pages, is a lot. And I don't want to overwhelm you guys. And I definitely don't want to give you guys more than you can in a certain time frame, and even a bandwidth, right? Like, hold on, ZaZa, this is a lot. We're talking about forgiveness. We're talking about, family dynamics and stuff that I've been struggling with my whole life. Like, I don't ever want to misconstrue the weightiness sometimes, and the importance of the topics that we're talking about. So in lieu of that, I want to make sure that I give you guys enough time and enough proper attention on these subject matters to make this process as simple and as digestible as possible. So my goal was last week to finish out the LAC version of the workbook. And granted, we're not even, touching on all the subjects in the classes, but I wanted to focus on LAC last week and then get straight into abundance this week. But the topics of LAC, and even for my interactions with dealing with you guys, the emails and the Q&As and stuff like that, might deserve a little more time and attention. So today and tomorrow, we're going to, kind of fine tune some of these topics: forgiveness, unfinished business, what is your master teacher? And the master teacher section is extremely important. I might even need to just focus tomorrow only specifically on the master teacher concept, because for me, just looking at my personal life, I recognized, just to get a little backdrop for you guys, when I was born, and I've written a blog about this and talked briefly about this before, the day that I was released from the hospital, my mother and father were outside of Summit Hospital in Oakland, California. And my biological mother is white, my father is Black. And there were police officers in the vicinity that saw my mother and my father struggling over my car seat. My father was apparently telling my mother, you just gave birth, you just got out of the hospital, you don't need to be trying to carry this car seat. And so they were having some sort of, what looked like an altercation. And so the police pulled up, and here it is, 1978, you have this Black man and this white woman, in this altercation. Of course, race is going to play a major role, especially in Oakland, which was a hotbed for, racial issues, politics, whatever. So the police ended up taking me into child care, CPS, Child Protective Services. And I ended up spending the first 2 weeks of my life in a foster home, until my father went to court and got full legal custody of me, and was, basically my predominant legal authority and parental, my legal parent from there on. And so that situation set off a chain of events in my life that I, call markers, so to speak, and master teachers that helped me to become the person that I am. Now, I also, when I was 7 years old, my father left me with his girlfriend at the time. And I don't know if he knew or not, but she was a drug addict, a functioning drug addict. But she left me and her son, who was right around the same age as me. She left us in a house for, I think, about 3 days by ourselves. And I ended up going next door to one of our neighbors and asking for food. I was young, but I can still remember. I can remember like we were eating ketchup packets to, we were by ourselves. And I can remember going to a neighbor's house and asking them for food. And then they ended up, calling the police, Child Protective Services, and I ended up in a foster home again. So I'm saying all of this to say that these things, while some people get stuck in the tragedy, in the dysfunction, and I have probably 15 more stories that mirror that same type of sentiment, right? A lot of people get stuck in the tragedy and in the traumas of their lives. A lot of my clients have dealt with, are still dealing with issues from their parents, and I'm talking about 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old, functioning adults that are still dealing with trauma and pain from their lives, right? So what I do with my clients, and what I had to do for myself, is to change the narrative on the experiences that I had as a child and learn how to make those situations serve me well and work for me. And I can say with full authenticity and assurity now that the situation that I experienced as a child, in elementary years and preteen years and teenage years, all the way up to where I am now, have been my master teachers. Not having a mother in my life was a master teacher for me. Being a leader in my family, even as a child, not intentionally being like, yeah, I'm a leader, but like having to be, because I didn't really have the type of consciousness around me that would help me to develop self-esteem, to develop courage, to develop self-love. Life was my primary example, my primary teacher. A good friend told me one time she said something to me that stuck out to me. She said, you've been mothering yourself your whole life. And she said that your upbringing and how you were shaped and molded, you were kind of like a blank canvas, so to speak, and life painted you, opposed to, having, an overbearing mother, or a mother who never knew how to mother, or a loving and nurturing and compassionate mother, because I didn't have that. Life served as a mother for me. So as a result of those experiences, I now, without the intention, never setting out to be this, but I have become a motherly figure to men and women and children around the world. So I've changed the narrative on my life experience and allowed that now to serve as my master teacher, and recognize and acknowledge that through all of those different experiences, I can now sit here and talk to you guys with full 100% assurity in what I'm talking about, what I'm expressing, from my pain, from my experiences, and the things that I've been through in life. And even beyond that, here now we sit at the heels of a global pandemic where people are afraid and moving based on fear-based consciousness and worried about worst case scenarios. I don't really share that same type of fear-based sentiment, because my life has properly prepared me for this moment in time. So my mother not being there, dealing with the foster care system, situations with drugs in my family, all of the people that were around me that were supposed to protect me and to guide me that didn't, and all of the various experiences that I've had in my life have 100% prepared me to step up to this moment in time where I can say, okay, what role do I need to play? Let's have a class every day. I need to bring my people together. I need to give them some positive reinforcement, some assurity that not only are we going to make it through this time, but we're going to come out better on the other end. So just to give you guys some context and some background, when I talk about that master teacher aspect, that's how I want you guys to start looking at the things that are happening in your life and that have happened in your life, whether it was an abusive relationship, whether it is a a tormented relationship with a parent, father was never involved in your life. You've got issues with your children that you're trying to work through. Maybe you didn't have the proper guidance, so you didn't have the proper tools. Ongoing patterns of behavioral patterns, mistakes that we, make because we just don't have the tools in order to help us get beyond it. Our goal and the goal of the workbook is to help you to fine tune your language and to change the way that you look at your life pattern and the things that you feel like have been hindering you or handicapping you, and to get those things to serve you and to serve you well. Okay, so that's my opening statement, my argument to the jury to get us started for today. And my braid is coming unloosed, but let me check in real quick. Well, let me do my polls. I know you guys are active in the chat room, and I'll check in with you guys real quick, but just want to ask a couple of questions to see where everybody is at. Number one, as of this weekend, are you caught up on all of the assignments for the week? And just to double back, we are on page 40 at this point, unfinished business, which means that you will have worked through the self-rating chart and understanding emotion and the magnetic factor. Water starts to mold when it stands still, and make peace with yourself, as well as forgiveness and unfinished business. Okay, so far we have, well, I'll let the numbers trickle in. How many of you guys are caught up? I need to know what's going on with my people and where you guys are. And also the internal purge, which is page 35 and 36, is a part of that, which we're going to talk about today. Looks like we're about half and half. Actually, more people have not so far, are not caught up than are, which is okay. And that's why I said, I have to, kind of be mindful of you guys' times, and, you have families and stuff like that. And I want to be clear with everybody. This is not just about you guys sitting and watching me talk and express things to you and, give you my perspectives or, whatever. That's only one part of this process. The larger and more important part of this process is what you do with this information when you go out into the world. That's where the workbook and the worksheets come in, because now you're sitting and having a conversation with yourself. Now it's not even about me anymore. It's about you, and you taking the time to look within yourself and be introspective about where you are and where you are aspiring to go. Hey, Chloe, how you doing, Queen? That's my sister right there from Chicago. So good. I'm glad you have the access to the recordings, and I'll definitely keep you guys a loop. If you haven't gotten the recordings, and I know some people are signing up, as the days go on, what I need to do is go back and send everybody all of the recordings so that you have every class from last week, and then you can, but if you're signed up as of today, you'll get today's recording, and then I'll double back and resend out everything so you have access to everything. Okay, y'all good? Crystal, Asia, much love. And welcome, Tanai. I hope I'm saying that right, or Tina. I hope I'm saying it right. Sophia, what's good, sis? Peace and love. Thank you so much for joining us. And everybody, you guys in the chat room, I appreciate all of your interactions and, speaking amongst yourselves. Somali, much love to all of you guys. So, next poll. All right, looks like the majority of you guys haven't been able to get around to the assignments, and that's okay. No worries, no judgment. I just want to get an idea so I know how we move from here. Question number 2, do you know what you want in life? What you really, truly want in life? And I'm not talking about a Chanel bag or some red bottoms or a BMW 6 Series. those things are, 100% okay. We are here to expand and to live the fullness of this life. So I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about what you really truly want in your life at the core of your being. What you want your life to look, feel, smell, taste, and touch. What do you want in your life? Okay, so far, yes is leading the way. Unsure coming in at a close second. No no's. So that is, that's a good thing. Okay, so right now we are at 66% yes and 38% unsure. Leslie said, I know exactly what I want in my life. That's what I'm talking about. And there's no right or wrong to this. If you do know, that's wonderful. If you don't know, that's wonderful too, because the notion of self-discovery, once you really take that position, opposed to beating yourself up about the fact that you don't know, once you take self-discovery as a serious thing, it becomes exciting and invigorating. So there's no right or wrong answer. Looks like 60% say yes, and then 38% say they're unsure. All right, cool. Thank you very much. And next question. This situation that we are facing right now with the coronavirus, how are you handling this current global pandemic, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? Are you doing great? And the situation is bringing out the best in you? Are you afraid of what is happening in the world and how it will impact you and those that you love? Maybe it's not affecting you at all. Or do you not know? Just kind of unsure, kind of neutral about it. Don't really know, where you stand with everything that's happening right now. And again, remember, you guys, there are no right or wrong answers. There is no benefit to saying the popular thing or the thing that most people feel like. Obviously the poll is anonymous, but being honest with yourself in how you are, processing this situation will serve you much better than saying what you think you should say or what other people will say. Okay, so far, most people are doing great. The situation is bringing out the best in you. Wonderful. Okay, honesty. We have some, some fear about what is happening in the world and how it's going to affect those that you love. Some 16% say it's not affecting me at all. And then we also have, does I say 13%? 19% that say I don't know. I appreciate you guys for the clarity. That's what this is about. I feel like it's waking me up and giving me an idea of how I need to be living the rest of my life, not dependent on others. Wonderful. Lauren says same. Hey, sis Lauren. Peace, queen. All right, so majority, 63% said, I'm doing great. The situation is bringing out the best in me. 6% said, I am afraid. 16% said, it's not affecting me at all. And then 19% said, I don't know. So here's just a little feedback about this. And again, there's no right or wrong way to look at this and to process this situation. All of us should be sitting up a little bit straighter. You know what I mean? And when I say sitting up a little bit straighter, I mean the fragility of life, how fragile life is, how interconnected all of us are as human beings. You guys know I say all the time, human beings are an ecosystem. And nowhere and no other time in history is that more relative than right now, meaning how connected we all are, how, it doesn't matter how isolated or how alone you feel in the world or how big your family is and how much support you have. When things like this happen, it really makes us realize how connected we are as human beings. And no other species on the planet, whether it be birds or the wildlife in the jungles, or the waterways or, you know, nature in itself, there's no other species of life that operates in such a separated and individualistic capacity. So I think one of the lessons that we are meant to embrace right now is the connectivity of all of us as human beings and how much we depend on each other, or I shouldn't say depend on each other, how connected we are in the bigger scheme of things. Also, our planet is resetting and being rejuvenated right now. And I think, you know, obviously the damage that we collectively and the, you know, the scientists of this world have done is definitely something that we need to be mindful of, but also being the stewards and having a mindset of being the stewards of this planet, meaning it's our responsibility to love our environment, to love the beauty and the magnificence of this planet and to take care of it. I think that is really, really important. And as you guys know, I'm a lover and a student of nature. And I think that is really important for us, not only in taking care of it, but to also stop and smell the roses, so to speak, to be mindful of how vast the network of what it takes to run this planet is. I think we take for granted the fact that the sun comes up every morning, you know, the clouds in the sky, the clear blue skies, you know, the water, that water isn't created. You know what I mean? Like, we are recycling the water on this planet that we've been blessed with, whether it's spring water or ocean water or recycled water. Like, there's so much abundance that has been bestowed upon us as human beings on this planet, and we take that for granted. So I think that is definitely something that is being reiterated. Also, the ability or the inability to sit with yourself and to be okay with that. I see people on social media freaking out right now at having to sit still and having to be in the house. And this is something that I know for a fact, the work that I've done, that I do with clients, and that I've just done in general. A lot of people don't really have the ability to be with themselves and be comfortable and to be satisfied and to be secure. So that is one of the biggest lessons that I see being imposed on us, for lack of a better word. And also, you know, bonding with your family, but maybe even more important, or just as important, bonding with yourself. Learning how to bond with yourself in a healthy, productive, and satisfying way, where every other thought or every third thought or majority of your thoughts are not negative, judgmental, critical, you know, reminding yourself what you need to be doing, what you didn't do, what you should have done, etc. Being able to bond with you as a sovereign individual outside of being a wife or being a husband or being in a relationship or being a mother, or the role that you play in the broader context of your family or society. Being able to be internally focused and bond with yourself. So just some things that, you know, stand out to me right now as far as what's happening and how we should be embracing and looking at this situation right now. Sitting up a little bit straighter, sitting up a little bit taller, valuing and appreciating our lives a little bit more, the opportunity to travel, the opportunity to see the world, the opportunity to talk to your neighbors and interact with people that you might not even pay attention to on a day-to-day basis. Compassion, empathy for other people in their situations, how small the global network is, right? What's happening in Japan, Wuhan, China, where all of this supposedly started, and how it can impact the rest of the world. Make sure that none of us should come out on the other end of this the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all should really be kind of sitting up a little bit straighter and paying more attention to our surroundings, and most importantly, how we treat ourselves and interact with the rest of the world. Based on my timing today and even my normal schedule, I have a daily regimen. I wanted to ask you guys, if we did 2:30 instead of 12:30, would that be better for you, or not as good for you? Because I have a daily regimen that I do outside of my work. And sometimes it draws out a little bit more into my day. So I just wanted to ask you guys, if we did 2:30 instead of 12:30, would that be okay for you, or would that be an issue as far as your personal schedule? Okay. That's a poll, you guys. So pardon me for ending the music. I had to respond to something. I'm on lunch at 12:30, but I can make it work. Okay. Flexible. Okay. I'm not saying I'm gonna change it. I just want to get an idea of how you guys' schedules. I actually think 12:30 is probably a little bit more appropriate, just because of the days, how the days work out. So Jennifer said 2:30. Okay. All right. Cool. We all agree on 12:30. Do we all agree on 12:30, Jay? All right, cool, cool. Last question, and this is an actual poll. Let me see. Wait a minute. How many people joining us live are working every day? How many of you guys are actively working right now? And how many of you, can you guys see this poll that I have up on my screen? Hopefully you can. You can't see the poll? Why is it not? Let me see. Okay, that's weird. Let me see. Relaunch. Relaunching the poll will clear existing. Okay. Can you see it now? How many people joining us live are working daily? Okay, there we go. Okay, sometimes yes, no. Majority of us looks like we're not working. I'm a nurse. Much love, Demetria, and definitely sending you love and positive energy. The healers of the world, nurses and doctors. We can't say enough how much we appreciate you guys, not only because of what's happening right now, but because it takes a special kind of temperament to go into a field where you take care of people for a living. So we definitely love and appreciate you for the work that you're doing right now. So most of us, 48% are not working, 34% are working, and 17% are working sometimes. All right, cool. That gives me an idea of where we are as far as time is concerned. Remember, you guys, if you have questions, to go ahead and just put them in the Q&A so that I can answer them specifically. And let me see. We have 3 questions so far. We're at 3:09 on time. I had a feeling this class today, I was going to kind of let it lead us, opposed to me leading the class, so to speak, to get an idea of where you guys are. I'm so energetically sensitive that I can feel, you know what I mean, when the energy is shifting and moving certain types of ways. I know Donald Trump yesterday released a statement saying that, the self-quarantine aspect of this was probably going to be extended for another 30 days. And I know that, kind of put a lot of people in a different level of fear-based consciousness or worry, so to speak. So I am mindful of that. But one of the questions is thoughts on quantum jumping, specifically using the water method. That's an advanced question, Lauren. I mean, not Lauren, I'm sorry. That's an advanced question. I think that when you get to a certain level of consciousness, that all things are possible. So the physical realm, as we identify the physical realm, is not really what we think it is. And when you start studying quantum physics, you realize that the broader aspects of our world are made up by very small, minuscule particles and elements. when you study the quantum world, you recognize that there really is no limitation. Time is a man-made concept, so to speak. And in the same way that, and I've done this before in meditations and even in previous classes, if we all closed our eyes and I used an example of, let's say, 9/11, where you were and what you were dealing with at that time, and you could mentally in your mind go back to exactly how you felt, exactly what you were experiencing, and exactly what was taking place when you first saw that first plane hit the building, when you first learned about this situation happening, and you could relive those feelings, relive those emotions. That is revisiting that particular time in your life, and having a real, true to life physical and mental experience based on where you were at that time. That is a form of quantum jumping. If I asked you what you did for your birthday last year, who was there? What presents did you get? Where did you go? How did you feel? Did you feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could mentally, spiritually, and emotionally take yourself back to that place in time and relive that. Now, obviously, you'd have to tune out your environment, but that is a form of quantum jumping, so to speak. And if you think about it, everything that we're doing, in what I teach, and the idea of changing your mind from lack to abundance, in a simplest way. Jay said, I want my $1,200 reparation check. In the simplest way, when I talk about, projecting and consciously creating your reality, this is what we are doing. I'm not talking about, okay, if you get a job that pays you $100,000 a year, that you are going to be able to afford the car you want, or yes, that's a part of it. That's the physical part of it. But what I'm really saying is, you decide what you want to manifest in your life over the next 6 months, over the next year, or whatever the time frame. Take time out of the equation. And instead of worrying about how it's going to come to be, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally invest yourself in what you aspire to, own it, and then the universe is going to conspire to make everything happen. That's basically saying, if you get in alignment with the things that you want in your life, it will be made manifest, regardless to if you get the job or if you don't get the job, regardless to if you have the money or if you don't have the money, regardless to if you know what I'm saying? Like, all the things that we think are necessary for us to attract the things that we want in our lives. Of course, you can work hard for it. Of course, you can do the things that we normally do, but there's also a spiritual and mentally based way of bringing these things into fruition. And I know, because I've been doing it my whole life. A lot of, when I was young, I didn't even realize it. So that's what we're talking about. That's quantum jumping in a sense, and also a physical representation of quantum physics. But for the sake of our class and everybody that's tuned in right now, I don't want to I won't get too scientific and derail the course of the conversation. I actually started this process before the pandemic hit. It's as if the situation is giving me a bubble of extra time to do what needs to be done and look at the things I've been putting aside in all areas of my life in order to move forward. It has a healing effect on my relationships, including the relationship with myself, as weird as this may sound. I am more mindful and so grateful for being able to look at this as a chance for my growth. I agree with you 100%. And one of the things that I had been telling myself is that I wish I just had more time to focus on the things that I want to do, not the things that I have to do, but the things that I want to do. And lo and behold, this situation presented itself where it's like, okay, this is what you asked for. Well, this is what you actually got, So I am in alignment with you as far as using this time to serve our best interests. And I'm really glad to hear that you are doing that. Will you do a live fast, step by step, and your eating meal plan? No, only because I get my thoughts when I fast. Most people would not be able to relate to. And I'm, very conscientious of that. My thoughts get very deep and complex at times. And, fasting is very personal. And again, I'm energetically sensitive, so I'm mindful of that when I'm, online. I have done videos before where I was live, and trying to stick to one subject when I'm fasting is nearly impossible. And also, I can't really be mindful of the listener when I'm fasting, because it's such a personal experience that I am 100% in my zone. I may do a live and talk to you guys and connect with you guys. Actually, on Friday I will be fasting when we have what might be our last class. So that'll be interesting to see if I'm able to actually hold a class. I know I'll be able to hold a class, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, my mind, it moves at such a rapid pace when I fast, that I don't even know if, a lot of people would really be able to relate to me when I'm in that space. So we'll see what happens. All right, let me get to what is going to be a very limited aspect of my presentation, but I'm going to go through it quickly because this is still important. And we'll see where we get with this. We'll probably go a little bit over our time, but that's okay. And again, if you guys have any questions, remember to put them in the Q&A section of the questions, and we'll get to them. Actually, I just got another question. I'm gonna answer it now because I don't know how deep into my presentation I'll get. But I definitely want you guys to know that I, sometimes the best part of these classes and these presentations is me being able to address the things that you guys are dealing with in real time. My children's mother has insisted on having a contentious relationship with me. She is a nurse, and my heart goes out to her during this time. However, I am seeing that she is continuing to behave disrespectfully and non-cooperatively towards me. Although I continue to wish her peace, forgiveness, love with no agenda. I feel frustrated since now it seems to be time to get along dealing with the pandemic, if there ever was one. I send her love and positive energy from afar. What other advice or guidance do you have to help improve this situation? Compassion, which is the only thing that you can really offer, pandemic or no pandemic. Compassion. And remember last week I was telling, or maybe you were tuned in or not, someone had asked me about, a contentious relationship with a family member, a daughter, I believe it was. And I was saying, we are mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical beings. And so sometimes you have to take the relationship out of the physical element, meaning conversation, communication, interaction, and having to deal with this person, and take it into a mental and a spiritual course of action, meaning, well, there's a section in the book called forgiveness, and I would definitely recommend that you work through that section. But I will say that sometimes, because of, our history with the people in our lives, they've hurt us, they've sabotaged us, they've done wrong by us and our children, right? Sometimes all of that baggage and those energetic ties that come with that, sometimes we energetically impose or reciprocate things in our relationships that we are not aware of. And I'm only bringing that to the forefront initially because the only thing we have control over is ourselves. The only thing that you can control and be 100% in charge of is you and how you are interacting in this situation. And sometimes, self-included, because of the past things that have happened in our past and in our relationships with people, we have this energetic expectation. We have this, underlying, I know she's going to do this. I know she's going to handle this way, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, they end up following suit because, number one, that's true to their character. But also, number two, we are energetically imposing, a lot of times without even realizing it, things on people that are in our lives. I would say, just from this very limited interaction that we're having, if that is a true to life reflection of her character, and you seemingly trying to be the bigger person, that you are probably the dominant vibration in that relationship. Meaning you are trying to be the bigger person. You have an understanding of, the right way that this is supposed to go, opposed to the way that it has been going. So you would be considered as the dominant vibration in the relationship, which means that energetically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you have a bigger role and responsibility, not only as the father of the children, but also as the bigger person, so to speak, dominant vibration. So I would say, outside of what you have to do naturally to interact and to keep the peace, spiritually take time out, maybe if you can every day, maybe once a week, but spiritually take time out to do maybe a 15 to 20-minute meditation, and like conscientiously during that time, visualize her being at peace. Visualize you guys having a harmonious relationship. Visualize her well-being. Visualize her being in a space of love, being in a space of gratitude, right? So now you are separating yourself from the physical confines or the difficulty of the relationship and taking it to a different level in a spiritual realm, where you are starting to look at her through the lens of what you know she's capable of and what you would like her to become or to be, opposed to just, the scope of your relationship now and the difficulty that she provides in your life. And, again, that compassionate factor, her being a nurse and dealing with this whole situation right now. I know in, in the bigger scheme of things, that doesn't, limit the expectations you have of her, or wanting her to be a good mother, or wanting the best for your children. But it also speaks to, a part of her character as far as being a caretaker, having to deal with other people and stepping up to the plate of what the world is demanding of her right now. So number one, watching your energetic countenance. Watching your energetic countenance and what you think of her, what you expect of her. How many times when you think of her in a negative capacity, low expectations. Here she goes again. I know she's going to disappoint the children. I know she's going to do this, et cetera, et cetera. You've got to be mindful of that, especially as the dominant vibration, because you can project onto her and she will respond accordingly energetically based on your projection. Right? So always being mindful, first and foremost, of how you view her, what you expect of her. And then secondly, taking the nature of the relationship into a spiritual perspective, where you start to give some time and attention towards not only how you want her to interact with you, not only how you want her to interact as a mother and the mother of your children, but her well-being, her peace of mind. Nobody who is in a good space within themselves is constantly kicking up dust in other people's lives. You know what I'm saying? So she's clearly following what what you are saying, is not in a space of well-being and peace of mind and contentment. So I would wish that for her. I would, spend time visualizing things that will serve her well, that she's in harmony with herself, at peace. And you don't have to inject this in the conversations or even into the physical aspect of your relationship. But if you do this continually over a course of time, and also monitor what you're projecting on her and your expectations of her, it will start to have an effect, particularly because you are the dominant vibration in that relationship. I hope that helps. And if you keep following with the classes, keep me posted on that. What did Elijah Muhammad study? I know Farad Muhammad was his mentor, but what body of knowledge does his information come from? Ancient Comedics, philosophy, or everything? Well, his mentor, Farad Muhammad, studied the universe and studied, our concept of Islam today is true to certain aspects of Islam, but there are, Sufism precedes what we think of as Orthodox Islam, and even, the Islam that some of the sects, SECTS in America ascribe to. So I would say Sufism, and Sufism being part African spirituality and part, precepts of Islam, so to speak. But Farad Muhammad also studied all the cultures, civilizations, as well as nature. And, based on, the teachings that he measured the universe, he measured the earth. So he was deep into scientific and mathematical theories and studies, which would of course include ancient Kemetics or Kemetic teachings, philosophy, spirituality, and nature as well. All right, so let's get into much of this as we can, and I'll go through some basics, and then we'll kind of continue this on tomorrow. I get text messages on my on my computer as well as my phone. So I'm smiling because somebody's messing with me. They know I'm doing a live class, so he's trying to mess with me. All right, so what is your master teacher? Today, our class, which we have already kind of had a one-two Q&A, a meeting of the minds. And just reiterating, and I'm probably going to reiterate this from in every class from here on, that it is God's plan that everyone on earth pursue the understanding of himself and his destiny, which is the purpose of our meeting together. Reiterating that we are vibrational beings, energetic beings. We are electromagnetic beings. You are an antenna. And based on whatever your energetic resonance is, your state of consciousness, that you are constantly emitting a frequency based on how you're thinking and you're feeling, which is attracting and repelling things to you continuously. So everything that is in your life right now is either a direct or an indirect reflection of your energetic signature, how you are thinking and feeling consistently. So if you are a, optimistic and joyful person, if you operate on enthusiasm and eagerness, opposed to jealousy and depression and insecurity, those are the things that are going to shape and mold your life. Now, let me just say something, because I haven't really touched on this point yet. A lot of people are living in neutrality. When I say living in neutrality, meaning neutral, meaning you aren't really telling the universe you want anything in particular. You're just kind of going with the flow of life. Mom and dad said we're supposed to live, go to school, go to college, get a good job, have a white picket fence, get married, 2-car garage, and that's supposed to be the nucleus of our lives, so to speak, and everything kind of falls underneath that umbrella. And that may be true to form for some people, maybe even a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that are getting their destinies clogged or stuck, so to speak, on what the environment, what society, what our parents tell us that we're supposed to be, and never really experiencing the fullness of who and what we are, because we're neutral. We're just going with the flow. Had a good job for 10 years, 20 years. And, it's not really what I want to do, but it's comfortable. It pays the bills. Been in a relationship that's not really fulfilling me, but, I have 10, 15 years invested in this relationship and it's too difficult to make a change. Or, I've always been this way. Yeah, I'm temperamental. Yeah, I have an anger issues. Yeah, I may not necessarily do what's in my own best interest, or I keep friends around me that are not in my best interest, but this is how it's always been and it's working for me right now. Where that's neutrality. You're not really conscientious and consciously making a decision about the things that you want to manifest in your life. I talked to a good friend of mine yesterday, and she's got a really good career. She works in California. She makes good money, but her career is not fulfilling for her at all. And she really has aspirations of becoming a chef. She might be listening, or she may listen later. What's up, sis? But she really has aspirations of becoming a chef. So I challenged her a couple of weeks ago. Look, man, go down to the school in San Francisco, find out how much it costs. Don't worry about, don't start getting in your head about the specifics. And I can't, it's expensive. I can't afford that. Just go down to the school and talk to the people and do a tour of the school and see what it actually, So she did it, right? I didn't even know. She told me yesterday, she's like, yeah, I went down and did it. And she told me how much it would cost. And she was like, I'm thinking about, refinancing my house, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. I said, well, you took the first step. I said, now don't let yourself get into the mindset of how am I going to get this done? Let's create a vision board, put the name of the school, put a picture of the school, and Obviously she'd have to go part-time in the evenings because of her work schedule. You know, write down the schedule on your vision board, the dishes that you want to learn, the experiences that you want to have, maybe, you know, dishes from around the world that you've always been interested in, certain cultures, you know, and just start to give some life and breathe some life into this process of you becoming a chef. I know this is a burning desire for her, but life has been getting in the way. So I said, the first thing you have to do is just make the decision. Decide that this is something you want to do, and then let the universe fill in the gaps. We get stuck on the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Well, what if you remove the who, what, when, where, why, and how out of the equation, right? And have faith and allow the universe to do its thing behind the scenes. And this is what the question before about quantum physics and quantum jumping, like the building blocks of this world are all based on and created on how we're thinking and feeling. So if we change the trajectory and the notion of, I don't know how I'm going to get this done, I don't have the money for this, I don't have the influence, I don't have the access, I come from poverty, I come from dysfunction, nobody in my family went to college, I don't have enough money to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of those things those gaps will start to fill in, so to speak. And that's my challenge to you guys. And that's what this whole process is going to be about. And once we get to Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, where we start focusing purely on abundance, after we get all of this energetic leaks and all of this stuff out of the way, it's going to be like, well, you know, ZaZa, that sounds good, but I don't have the money for that. Nope, that's not the conversation we're having right now. Take the specifics out of the equation and let's just focus purely on how we want life to feel, how we want to experience this life, because, you know, we're supposed to be here to thrive. We're supposed to be invigorated and impassioned and fired up about life, and not reacting and not going with the flow and not being neutral and not doing things just because the bills have to get paid, or just doing things because my mother says so, or doing things because this is how all of the women in my family have done it. If you take 100% accountability and responsibility for your life and decide what it is you want in your reality, because the biggest part of this is making the decision. We're like, oh, I don't know, sounds good, but I don't know, it's scary, or it doesn't, you know. Once you actually make the decision, the universe will conspire in order to make everything that you want to come into fruition, a reality. But you can't, once you make the decision and the next day be like, I don't know, this is a pipe dream. There's a story in the book, The Alchemist, where hopefully you guys have read this book. It's one of probably my favorite book of all time. It's a fiction book, but it's a deep book. Santiago meets this crystal shop merchant, right? His business is struggling. He's not really doing well. He's got a crystal shop at the top of this mountain in the middle of the desert, but nobody ever comes to the crystal shop because they don't know it's there. So Santiago stumbles on his crystal shop. The guy ends up giving him a job because he needs money. So Santiago starts cleaning the crystals and has an idea to sit the crystals outside of the shop so that people can see them from far and wide. So obviously you're in the desert, you see sparkling crystals sitting outside. So now people are coming from all over the place because they're intrigued about these crystals. So now Santiago has the idea, well, we could serve tea in the crystals, right? In order to, you know, people will buy tea, they'll buy crystal, they'll have a pleasant experience, they'll tell more people, it increased business. So all of a sudden now this crystal shop is popping. This guy's not doing anything, crystal shop is popping, money's coming in, money's not an issue anymore. Well, the crystal shop owner had a life goal to visit Mecca for Hajj, the pilgrimage, which is, you know, the dream of every Muslim, to go to Mecca to experience Hajj. But so Santiago's like, yeah, you have the money now. You can go, you can experience Hajj, you can, you know, fulfill this destiny that you had. And he's like afraid. And even though he has the money, he has the time, there's no reason for him to not go to Hajj now. But he won't go to Hajj because now if he goes and fulfills this destiny, he doesn't have anything else to look forward to. And a lot of us are like that in different ways, where I used to want to be an attorney, but, I never really was able to go to school, or I never really made it a priority, or I used to want to be an artist, or, a musician or a poet. I had these goals, but I kind of buried them in the back of my mind because number one, I'm afraid that it'll never come into fruition. And then number two, we get comfortable with the fairy tale or the dream living behind the scenes of our lives. You know what I'm saying? And so again, that decision-making process, nope, I'm going to Hajj. I don't care what I have to do. This is something that I'm going to do. I'm going to fulfill this destiny. I need I'm telling you, universe, this is what I want. I need you to help me make a way to make it manifest. Making the decision and then letting the faith process kind of take its course. So forgiveness. I know we had some questions last week that were centered around forgiveness, and for the sake of time, and also not even for the sake of time, you guys can walk through this. This is a very personal conversation and experience for all of you guys to have. This was something that I recognized was holding me back, where I'm doing everything that I possibly can, and things are not going my way. Not only are they not going my way, but like I'm starting to get counterproductive things happening in my life, when on the surface I feel like I'm doing everything right. What is the problem? Well, beneath the surface, I'm still holding grudges from people that did me wrong, from mistakes that I made, energetic leaks, again, going back to the Make Peace with Yourself section of the workbook. If you feel like you're doing everything and things still aren't working, I'm doing my best, I'm putting my best foot forward, this is a concept and a section that you really need to give some time and attention. Don't look away, look straight at everything, look at all in the eye, good and bad, with compassion, with empathy for yourself, right? Because in the bigger scheme of things, all things work for the greater good. I don't care how big your mistake was. I don't care how wrong someone did you. I don't care the varying degrees of difficulties that we have in our lives. In the bigger scheme of things, all things work for the greater good, right? And operating from that perspective and then backtracking with the people that are in your lives and the things that you've done to or against yourself, as well as mistakes that you've made, if you think about the lack of, there's a real big issue in modern society of fatherless children, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of fathers that want to step back in and to right those wrongs, not just with children, but grown full-fledged adults, and don't really know how to walk back from those situations, right? If beating yourself up for missing 10 years, or beating yourself up for not making child support payments in 15 years or however long, or moving the grudge from the children's mother out of the equation, moving the difficulty factor of everybody in your family knowing that you didn't do right by your children, or the society, community, whatever, forgiving yourself. I call on the law of forgiveness. I am free from my mistakes. I am under grace and not karmic law. I now willingly let go of every thought, condition, or relationship that in any way retards my perfect life. I am blessed with perfect elimination in mind, body, affairs, and relationships right now. I willingly release the thoughts and things that clutter my life. I forgive myself and others. I am free from all misjudgment, bitterness, injustice, intolerance, and revenge. All misunderstanding and bitterness is now eliminated from my mind, body, and world. Think about this. I am free from all misjudgment, bitterness, injustice, and intolerance. I am free from all misjudgment, bitterness, injustice, intolerance, and revenge. Can you imagine if you govern your life with that sentiment? Can you imagine if you dealt with the people in your family, with the people in your environment, with the people in your work environment, in your business? I am free from all misjudgment, all bitterness, all injustice, all intolerance, and revenge. If we governed ourselves from that perspective, we would automatically probably take about 75% of the weight the burdens that we're all carrying on a day-to-day basis. Say Timothy or Robin or Angela, whoever this person is, or this circumstance or this situation. Robin, you fully and freely release me. You loose me and let me go. You let go and let God bring freedom into this relationship right now. Identify by name all persons, events, organizations, family members, co-workers, past or present relationships that require forgiveness to clear your energy and allow abundance to flow. Repeat this process for those that you forgive and those that you call on for forgiveness. Recite these names or events out loud with the noted affirmations of forgiveness. I am free from the past and the mistakes of the past. I go free to love, to trust, and to accept myself. When it all boils down to it, we all want peace of mind. We all want to feel safe and secure within our homes, within our lives, within our decision-making processes. We want peace of mind. Peace being the order of the day. Love is all that there is in my mind and heart. I cast all sense of injury, hurt, and resentment upon the source of all creation, which is in me and sets me free. From this time forward, I put doubts, criticisms, and quibbling aside. All business and belief in injustice now pass from my mind and body. Peace is the order of the day. Can you imagine if you govern your life with that sentiment? I have a forgiveness meditation, and I just thought about it. It's in my Alchemy Cipher group. I will put that up. I'll put that up on YouTube. I think it's like 20 minutes, and it's basically just these same sentiments, just like the other meditation that are speaking this type of language over meditation type beats. Internal purge. Think about people, events, mistakes, past lessons, etc. that keep you stuck in a space of negative energy. Identify them by name, description, etc. It's time for me to let this go. I have given this enough of my time and energy. I hereby take my power back. So the sister who wrote me last week and said, how I'm dealing with, people that have wronged me or people that have, done harm, and it's time for me to let that go. I'm struggling with forgiving them or forgetting or let that go. It's time for me to let this go. I have given this enough of my time and energy. I hereby take my power back. How do you take your power back? By identifying the benefit that this lesson has provided for you. I am thankful for this experience. Therefore, it no longer has power over me. Through this lesson, I have learned A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you have relationships that you can't sit down and write out what you learn from, then that is not on the other party, that is on you. All things work for the greater good. There's not one experience, from the best to the worst experience, that I've ever had in my life, even as a child, as a innocent, you know what I'm saying? Just here in this experience, when I could pinpoint what my family members should have been doing, what my parents should have been doing, what society should have been doing to take care of me. Even I can look back at those situations and acknowledge, here's how that served me well. Here's how my father leaving me in the presence of other people that weren't taking proper care of me. Here's how that served me well. That helps me to embody what it means to be compassionate, what it means to be empathetic. And in most Eastern spiritual ideologies, their number one rule for self-mastery is compassion. That's why, to the brother who wrote in and talked about the situation with his children's mother, one of the greatest elements of being a ruler of yourself or embodying self-mastery is compassion. So that's my emphasis to all of you guys, compassion with yourself, looking at all the life experiences you've had, and then being able to sit down and move from a space of being a victim of someone else or being a victim of a certain circumstance and situation into standing in your power and learning how to be in observation of how these circumstances and these people have served you well. Unfinished business. Remember when we talked about energy leaks? An ongoing energetic puncture, usually attached to people, personal relationships, traumatic experiences, negative thinking, and emotional patterns that drain the life force energy. Now, it's funny, I was having a conversation with a friend, a good friend of mine earlier. And through the nature of the conversation, this idea of an energetic prop came up, right? And we're just, bouncing ideas off of each other. And when I said it, energetic prop, when it came up in my mind, like 10 other thoughts came with that. Because a lot of times we unwittingly or unknowingly are using the people in our lives, the circumstances in our lives as energetic props. Meaning, let's say women do this a lot, right? We haven't discovered who we really are. We have patterns of dysfunctional behavior, or we don't really truly love ourselves, or we're suffering from low self-esteem and confidence issues. So we get in relationships and the men in our lives serve as energetic props. Meaning, oh, I don't have to focus on all my BS anymore or all my problems anymore. Here you come. I can focus on yours. Or I can make you my point of emphasis to help you grow your business, help you become successful in your career, help you be a good father, help you be a good businessman, help you be a community service-oriented mindset, right? Completely neglecting ourselves and all the stuff that we came into the relationship with, right? So now again, energetic projection, I'm projecting on you through the course of the relationship, all of my faults, all of my baggage on internally, but on the outside, I'm like, wait a minute, I did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P for you. Why are you neglecting me? Why are you not giving everything that I give? Why are you not giving me everything that I give to you? Why are you not serving me in the way that I serve you? Well, any healthy-minded, emotionally mature, rational human being is never going to put another human being before their own best interest. Women, we do that a lot in our relationships. And then it ends up over time, it builds up. And then it becomes, well, you cheated on me, you did me wrong. Or you aren't putting into the relationship everything that I'm putting into it, or you aren't fulfilling what I feel like you're supposed to fulfill in the relationship. But you're giving 90% of yourself to the relationship and only 10% to you. So you are teaching and training this person how to treat you. So now they only give you 10% of themselves and 90% to the world. You set up the trajectory of the relationship. This is what we do in relationships. And it's not just a female male dichotomy. It happens in reverse, right? And that's even something for the brother who talked about, the relationship with his children's mother. You've got to analyze where you were in your state of consciousness at the time when you attracted this relationship. Where were you at mentally? Where were you at spiritually? Where were you at emotionally? Because at one point in time, you and this woman were in alignment in one way or another. It doesn't mean that she's dysfunctional and which means you were naturally dysfunctional too. No, it means that in certain areas of your compatibility you guys lined up, and it also means that you were aspiring to become a certain type of man, to become a certain type of father, to become a certain type of human being, and she played her part in helping you to become that person so that you could become your highest and best self. You've got to get into a space of gratitude when you interact with this sister, this woman. Unresolved problems with family, strained relationships with children, strained relationships with parents, circumstances that cause guilt or shame. Once you identify them, this is the space we want to get to. Everyone in my life represents a mirror of what is happening within my mind and heart. They are lessons that life has required me to learn. I give thanks for these energetic and relationship ties and now release them with love and gratitude. This is critical right here. I will prepare myself to be in the right mind and heart space to mend these connections should the day ever come. And if it doesn't, I have to be at peace with that. And then the rest of that assignment is write that if you agree with it. Yes, this statement resonates and I'm free from these binds, or no, I'm not in a position to make this decision at this time. Because if you read that statement and it's not in alignment with how you're thinking and feeling right now, then the emphasis is, okay, this is not about the other person. This is about me, because I can't even let this go. So if I can't let this go, then there's still an energetic tie that I have, which is causing more friction in this situation than I've realized before. It's not only about what the other person did to me. It's not only about the role that they played in my life. I'm not even in a space where I can acknowledge this is not healthy for me. Let me put this on the back burner, not because I'm not acknowledging its importance, but because I have to put myself first. A lot of times people do what's wrong in our lives because we're not willing to put ourselves first. And I bear witness to that 1000%. And I know that to be true for a fact. So if you bear witness to that, and if you acknowledge that, it becomes less about the other person. And now you have to stand in your own personal power and acknowledge that, and now start to move forward from there. And I think I got, let me see, unfinished business. I got 2 particular emails about this particular section in the workbook. Some aha moments, and then unfinished business, just as far as physical things, unresolved child supports, tax liens, suspended driver's licenses, unpaid student loans, things like that trigger us when we think about traveling, or trigger us when we think about, attracting a particular partner that may have issues because we have bad credit, et cetera, et cetera. Look, this is real life. You know what I'm saying? Stuff happens. Here's some things that I have let get beyond any scope of where I wanted them to be. I'm going to write them down. I'm going to acknowledge them. I'm going to take baby steps, whether it's sending a letter, whether it's sending an email, whether it's just making a call. What do I need to get this resolved? I may not have the money right now, but at least now I know, so that I can start to clear up that underlying energy that is affecting me in the background, and it's impacting everything that's happening in my life and in my world. So what do you want? That's the question of the hour. And there's another page in unfinished business, but we won't get into that. What do you want? What do you want? It's a rhetorical question, but it's a question nonetheless. That's what all of this is about. What do you want? Not who did you wrong, not what happened in your past relationship, not what continues to happen in your business, not what continues to happen in your job, not how much money you made last year, not how much the government is shortchanging your checks, not the difficulty you're having in raising your children, not the problems of the world and the problems of society, not racism, white supremacy, what the society is doing and imposing on you. What do you want? What do you want? And how much time and attention and energy and focus and meditation and prayer and writing and concentration and vibration and electricity and spiritual understanding and research and reading and staying in tune with and staying in alignment with what you want are you actually doing? That's the question I'm going to leave you guys with, because we're at 3:53 and I am only on slide number 10 of 31, but we will pick this up tomorrow, because I know I see the chat room jumping on my right screen right here. I know you guys are in full 100% effect, and probably, hopefully, bells and whistles are going off in your heads and in your hearts and in your spirit, because that's what this is about. What do you want? What do you want? That's the question I'm going to leave you guys with. And tomorrow, let's see, tomorrow we're back at 12:30. I think that's a good time. That's the time that I started with. And I think that time will benefit all of us. And you know, because some people are on the West Coast, some people on the East Coast, and we have, I think, 3 or 4 people that are actually tuning in from around the world. And I had to consider that when I posed the question to you guys, remembering that we do have people that are tuning in internationally. So let me stop my share. Let me bring you guys up. You got the Holy Ghost, Demetria, huh? ZaZa ends. One of my brothers that follows me all the time. He hashtags ZaZa-isms. You know, he says that I have things that I say that he, you know, he coins them as ZaZa-isms. Um, I just got, oh, okay. I got you, sis. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that. I got your message, Chloe. Send me an email and remind me so I don't forget. Apparently domestic violence has risen due to us being indoors. How does one get into a higher state of consciousness when fear is in the household? Oh, that's a good question. And that's a heavy question. The thing about that is you can, and I've experienced this with too many clients to not know that this is true, that you can be living in a household, and a couple of my clients are tuned in that have experienced this through working with me. You can be in the same household as another person and energetically control the way that that relationship is expressing itself. But usually the person that is the victim of domestic violence is operating from a fear-based frequency and vibration. And the other person that is in a position of control is really kind of mandating the way that the energy in the household. What I would say is wake up early before anybody in the house wakes up and meditate. And this would be a prime example of guided meditation, because in that kind of situation, it's very hard to control or to conceptualize positivity or positive energy when you're dealing with a situation like that. So I would recommend the subconscious mind meditation. I would also recommend, there are plenty of guided meditations online that will give you positive affirmations, loving, reaffirming energy. I would wake up before the entire household wakes up, and I would focus on that. I would create a visualization process for that other person, the violent person, the abusive person, and I would find a space in the house, and maybe for 10 or 15 minutes every day, because obviously this is a volatile situation, where I would visualize positive interaction, positive communication, good things happening for that other person. Usually the person who is, the violent person or the abusive person is dealing with their own issues, whether it be financial problems, issues with, ex-wives, baby mamas, problems with people at the job, issues with family members. So I would project onto that person positive visual interactions in their life, success, job promotion, increase in salary, something good happening to and for that person in order to help cultivate a positive energy on them. And then I would also take this process that we're working on as far as identifying what she or he, because men are victims of domestic violence too, really, really wants their life to look and feel like. And listen, there is, when you're confined to a limited space with another human being, that's when shit gets real. It's one thing when he's got to go off to work, you know what I'm saying? And you don't have to see him for 8 hours or 10 hours a day. He goes and hangs out with his friends in the evening and has liquor. So, the interaction might be 2 or 3 or 4 hours per day, opposed to 24 hours a day. So shit gets real when you have to really live with 100% another human being. That's when all of the layers come undone, all of the facades, all of the, you know what I'm saying? We go along just to get along. That's when all that shit goes out the window and shit gets real. You know what I'm saying? So looking at your life and your situation and really focusing 100% every single day. What do I want my life to look like? First of all, no relationship. I want to be in a relationship that with a person that treats me like this, or a person. No, I want to be alone. That has to be the point of emphasis. I need time and space. I need the universe to help me to figure out a way where I can afford my own place, where I can maybe get a job, where I need the universe to come and help me, to guide me into a space where I can have time to get my life, my mind, my situation together. I pray for peace. I pray for guidance. I pray for understanding. That is the language within yourself, in your mind and in your heart space that you want to get into. I'm probably going to post this video on YouTube because as I hear myself saying this, my subconscious mind is telling me that there are people experiencing this that need to hear what I'm saying. That's when I know, like, you know what I'm saying, the universe and the ancestors are speaking to me when I'm speaking. And there's also a voice speaking to me at the same time. Every single day, notebook. Okay, identify. What do I want to do? And what do I want my life to live? Yeah, I'm in this situation. Yeah, it is what it is. But I have time. I have mind space. I have my personal energy. I have my sovereign being. I know what I can think whatever I want to think. You can't control my mind. I can, you know what I'm saying? This is what I control inside of me. This is the only thing that I have power over is my own mind. So instead of me, even in the context of what I'm dealing with, what can I do for myself right now to start to create a world outside of the world that I'm living in, experiences outside of the experiences that I'm experiencing, love outside of the situation that I'm in right now that is showing me a lack of love, showing me everything that I don't want, but also a reflection of me. So what do I want my life to look like? Well, I want my own place, studio, 1-bedroom apartment, or I want to move back home with my family, go back to my mother's house, or I want to have a job, part-time job, full-time job. I've got experience in this, or I have no experience. You know what I'm saying? Like starting to spend time every single day through this process, writing down, visualizing, editing, figuring out internally in writing, whatever, what it is you want your life to look and feel like beyond the circumstances that you are experiencing right now. Imposing meditation, visualizing positive things on the other person that you're dealing with. You had to love them. Something about them is keeping you there. Something about them attracted you, right? Meditation in the morning before the rest of the household wakes up. And then finding time and spending attention and giving life to what you want your life to look and feel and be like beyond the circumstances of where you are right now. Can you please send this video to us? Yes, I will send this video, and I'm going to go back and resend all of the videos to everybody to make sure that they have been getting them. But this particular video all of the videos will have the date in the subject so that you guys know, which date it was. So this particular video will be March 30th. And I am gonna put this up on YouTube. And then also I thought Friday's class was really good. So I'm gonna put that one on YouTube as well so that I can, make sure more people get this message, also promote my workbooks, and do my little part in trying to help, you guys and all of us to get clarity, not just to survive through this situation, but more importantly, to come out on the other end of this better, brighter, more fulfilled, more advanced, more internally self-aware, so that we can really, really, really consciously create our reality. If you're watching this and you haven't purchase my workbook, the only thing I ask of you guys is that you reciprocate by purchasing the workbook. I meant to change the price on Friday and I totally got sidetracked, so it's actually still on sale for $16.95, but I am going to change that because it's on my to-do list to change. But if you're watching this and you view this, the only thing that I ask is for you guys to invest in me and invest in yourselves by purchasing the workbook, which is a supplemental aspect to the things that we're talking about in order for us to get from a lack and fear and victim-based consciousness into a higher state of consciousness to start creating the lives that we actually desire. All right, Chloe, shoot me an email so I can, we can address that specifically. And to everybody else, I am so grateful for your time and attention. I haven't really been with you guys in the chat room, but I just have some things that I need to get off my chest. So let me see where you guys, I'm a ZaZa, that's cute to me. Let's see what you guys got going on in here. Somebody said she's getting us all the way together. I'll take that. Let's see, love, ZaZaism, yeah. Live in a space of gratitude continues to be an active shield of protection against energy vampire and making unwise decisions. That's a fact. Yes, indeed. Yes, so we can also show our gratitude to you and share your video and help promote your workbook. That's a good look. Yeah, that's reciprocal for sure. All right. We did 1 hour and 35 minutes. I feel like this is like really powerful. And again, I can't see myself outside of myself, but when I have that feeling, I have that feeling. You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys so much for your time and attention. And I appreciate you. Much love. I'm proud of you guys too. And homework. Okay, so the majority of you guys are not caught up. So if you're not caught up, we're trying to get up to page 40, unfinished business. So if you're not up to date with us yet, let's get up to page 40. Those of you guys who have got up to page 40, go ahead and do dominant vibration in matters of the heart. And it's actually relative to what we talked about today, particularly when it comes to relationships and the things that we attract. So go ahead and do page 43 through 50. And 1, 2, 3 of those pages are reading. So go ahead and do page 43 through 50, dominant vibrations of the heart. Everybody else, try to get caught up to page 40. Send me your feedback by email. I'll always appreciate you guys letting me know when you have aha moments from the worksheets, things that really stood out to you. If you have any questions that we didn't get to today, or you prefer to remain anonymous or whatever, go ahead and shoot me an email. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'll be on time tomorrow, and I'll be ready to go, and we'll finish the rest of the presentation from today and talk about, whatever we need to talk about. All right. Peace and love, family. I'll see you guys soon.